Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Detoxing from toxic chemicals and eating whole foods is a significant way to improve your health. However, to achieve optimal health, you need to exercise. There are many ways to move your body, and there is an exercise routine there for everyone, even those who don't love working out. That's why we're so excited today to chat about Pilates with today's guest, Heike Yates. She's the founder of Pursue Your Spark, where Heike is a Pilates strength and fasting coach who helps empty nester moms over 50 reclaim their health and strength to redefine their second half of the life. So today we're going to discuss Pilates, ageism, stigmas about exercising as you age, advice for making exercise a habit, and so much more. So I saw.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about our conversation today.
About Pilates before. We talked about some strength training, but Pilates is something that I like. I really enjoy doing, and it'll be this conversation will be so awesome. Before we start, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know how you became a fitness coach.
Oh my goodness, I totally fell into being a fitness coach. I have not in my wildest dreams thought that where I am today, now over 35 years later, teaching Pilates and fitness and intermittent fasting. But back in the days when I was pregnant, I was really, really heavy. I gained a lot of weight during my pregnancy. And I had no clue how to get the weight off back then. And just for anybody younger joining us, I'm going to 62 this year. So it's been a while since I was pregnant.
They don't look 62. Oh my goodness.
But back, oh, oh, thank you. But back then, there was the only thing that was offered. There was classes and dance classes and some strength training, but it was not as popular as popular as it now that you can have so many choices. But a friend of mine dragged me to what's called in the United States, the YMCA, and she says, "Heige, we gotta go there. The classes are good for our butt, our belly. It's gonna be great, and they have music, and you love dancing." I took the first class, and I just loved it. You would have never thought that you would find me in an exercise class, air quotes, ever, but here I was, and that started the trajectory of my wonderful career.
How I mean the name of your brand, I love it. Which is Pursue Your Spark. Tell us about it. What does it mean to you?
Pursue Your Spark went through many iterations over the last 4 years because the brand is still a pretty young brand. But I feel that women need to literally pursue their spark, whatever age they're at, meaning that they need to look for what makes them happy. And that's one of my things when my kids always say, "Mom, what do you think? I need to do this." And I said, all you need to do is be happy. If it doesn't make you happy, don't do it. So Pursue Your Spark is about happiness, finding the right choices for exercise, nutrition, mindset strategies. As we're getting older, we're struggling with different identities. And from my 30s to my 40s and 50s and 60s, I changed a whole bunch of things that I do physically, from being a former bodybuilder to now I'm a triathlete and I teach Pilates and I do all kinds of other things. I'm a crazy nut. But it's like what lights you up. It doesn't matter. Nobody can judge you for what lights you up. It's something that it's you and it's only for you, and it's pursue it, do it. Just
Love it, love it. You specialize in clients who are over 50 years of age. Do you think a coaching for empty nester requires a different kind of approach compared to other kind of client?
heck yeah. Now, as an empty nester, and if all the empty nesters that are listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. You are giving your life to your kids. You are driving them around, you cater to their needs, you go to their sports events, you put your own needs on the back burner. And so once they leave, you don't know really what to do sometimes. You haven't kept up with you, with your life, with your interests, because all your interests were you kids, their things, their friends. And I learned it the hard way when I got divorced that suddenly I had no friends because all my friends were part of their activities, their school things. And once I got divorced, I was the bad person because I asked for the divorce. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with me. So suddenly I had no friends. So I looked for friends in different places and I made new friends, but it was a really good lesson to learn to say, listen, don't put yourself on the back burner. Keep moving, keep thinking of the things you want to do, and then you have time. Let's do it. And also at that point in our lives, we're either in menopause, past menopause, or somewhere around that niche. And there's a whole bunch of different things that we need compared to where we used to be. The mindset more of a empty nester, I need to come first now strategy and I'm worth it. And then the exercise and the nutrition strategies for everything else as you keep going. Because also you don't eat the same thing anymore. Not the things, things change. And the biggest complaint I get, or complaint, let's call it that way, is I have belly fat. Look at me. And it's the hormone changes and it's all things we're going through. That's why I think it's different in a sense that we have a different mindset strategy for a woman that has had children or still has them, of course, but may not also be grandparents. So you're looking at things where you go, okay, I have to come up with a different strategy.
That makes so much sense. But also what you said apply to many all age group too. It just was this special age you need to take a different approach and then be willing to adapt.
Exactly. And it's like you can do everything I'm teaching you. You don't have, I always say you do not have to be an empty nester to work with me. Um, I know what you're talking about. I know what your needs are. I've been a single mom for a long, long time until I met my second husband. So I know what it's like to be single and be the breadwinner. And
That's amazing. So today's conversation is about Pilates. You know, many of us have heard of Pilates, but might not know exactly what it is. So could you explain, like, what is Pilates to you?
okay, one word, amazing. Okay. So Pilates is a form of exercise. And Pilates has been around and become more popular over the past more. So I've been teaching Pilates for 20 years. When I started teaching Pilates 20 years ago, it was more viewed as a specialty. Only the rich and famous can do it. Hollywood is doing Pilates, but I can't do Pilates. So Pilates is literally in its essence to me a form of movement. It's just moving a different way. The cool thing about Pilates is, especially as we get older and at any age, I would always say do Pilates. The Pilates method and the application of its things translates into everything we do every day. From picking up a bucket, from schlepping your kids, picking up the groceries, biking if you're an athlete, running, all the principles apply to a very active or not so active lifestyle. If you're talking about men and women that are in their 80s, and I was talking about this today, if I have two clients that are 86 and they both do Pilates. They do a little bit of a different form of Pilates, but it all comes down to what Pilates is known for is core strength, balanced use of the body, and a lot of breathing. Breathing is a vital part. So there's a lot of other things like good posture, um, strength. And we're talking in Pilates about long, lean muscles. Now, some people say it's bogus. You can't have long, lean muscles. Well, let me tell you, when you think about the Pilates equipment, and many people know the reformer, the Cadillac, the chair, are some of the things that we oftentimes see on social media, and you people here on Instagram see us doing acrobatics on our pieces of equipment. And there's also the mat work where you just use your body. But it is for any age, for any ability. It's easy on the joints, and it's great for the whole body. You're not isolating muscles. And when you think of you're working with resistance, when I look at it from a point of view as a bodybuilder, I build bulky muscles. That was my goal. That means I have to progressively overload my muscles with the weights I'm using, with the repetitions I'm doing, and with the sets I'm doing from a weight training perspective. In Pilates, you do not have sets and reps and a certain amount of weight that you're doing. You have springs that are color coded, and I don't know what the numbers, how much it translates into pounds, but it has colors. There's yellow and there's green and whatever. And they can be light depending on the person's need, but they also can be really heavy depending on who you have before you. So with that, it is intended to create, yes, a muscle weight, well, my muscle belly here, but not a little muscle belly. You can have a big one, or you can have a longer, leaner one. And that's what the aim is of Pilates. So you're not developing bulk, but lean muscle mass, which is also more functional. And again, I go back to being a bodybuilder. I had lots of muscle. I was ripped. I had a six pack. I was, you got to be posing kind of business. Like you see the really big muscles. And now I'm the complete opposite. My muscles are longer. I'm more flexible. I am more functional in the things I do every day, not
I
just
feel like
in
that's
the Pilates
also
studio.
more elegant, especially for ladies, right? Like some people probably don't want that bulky muscle, but you want to have the strength.
You want to, and that's a good point too, Jenna. The strength, Pilates gives you strength, which is what I'm really preaching to all my ladies that I'm working with, and some gentlemen, is we need strength as we age. Starting at age 35, we're losing muscle mass naturally because we're getting older. So how do we push that rock up the hill? Is by eating right and incorporating resistance training, which resistance training. So something's got to be heavy that you're pushing, whether it's a band, your own body, or a Pilates reformer. You have to create a friction to grow your muscle mass as it's being stored.
One question that like people often ask is that how does Pilates differ from yoga or other type of exercise?
Pilates has been so long around so long, and I know yoga has been around longer, and this question never dies. The breathing is very different. I think of Pilates breathing as almost like strength training. It's like when your muscle lengthen, you inhale. When you need power, you exhale. In yoga, oftentimes, and it depends on the yoga practice. You oftentimes do for meditation, you do belly breathing, which is definitely not something we do in Pilates. And again, it comes back to the form of what type of yoga we do, because many people know hatha yoga, but that's an over umbrella for yoga. But you could be doing ashtanga, you could be doing other forms of yoga. The difference is really of the application of the exercise. When you think, let's use an example of the bridge. When you think of the yoga bridge, many of us were thinking, oh, back bend, hands on the floor, lifting the hip up so you look like a half a wheel. Well, the Pilates bridge has something like it in the advanced version, but it's primarily connecting ribs to the hips via your obliques to stabilize. So we're looking more for the stability before we look for the mobility, which is more an aspect of yoga. And again, it depends on the level you are at. It is so doable for all people. I think that's the biggest difference. Can both coexist together? Absolutely. I have clients that have been yogis for 20 years and they love their yoga. They come to Pilates. They have to change how they approach Pilates. But once they can flip the switch, It's like, oh, today's Pilates day. Heike wants me to do this way. I can do this. And I think they can coexist.
So what does
beautifully
the
together.
whole Pilates class look like?
It depends. It depends. First, we need to know about you. We need to take an evaluation, whether you go to a group class with multiple people or you go one-on-one, which is what I prefer in my brick and mortar studio. I train clients one-on-one. That's just something I've preferred over time. At Pursue Your Spark, we have virtual classes. So there are groups, but we need to know what condition you're in, not how. It's not, that does not mean, oh, I haven't exercised, Heike, I feel so weak. That's not what I mean. It's like, do you have old injuries? Are they things that I need to know to keep, to be aware of when I'm coaching you? Because I do not want to injure you unintentionally by not knowing your body. And after a while, you get to know the person in front of you, and you know that when the body is off, that you need to do things a little bit differently. But first off, we need to know what's going on with the body. Then you start by simply what I call organizing your body. You are, oh, well, I'm German. What could I say? You are organizing the body from the ground up. Where are your feet? Where is your belly? Where is your spinal alignment? Think about when we all start working on our computers, how crunched or hunched forward we are, how little we breathe. So you start very simply by aligning and organizing your body. And then you start out with what I like to start out with, and that's what I was taught when I was started Pilates, is the fundamentals. They're little baby steps to Pilates. There's not and everybody knows this, the frantically pumping arms called the 100s, and wherever it's go, pump, 2, 3, 4, breathe, 2, 3. This is usually one of the last things I do, because the people oftentimes tell me that the neck's not liking this exercise. But it depends on the fitness level of that person. If I have a triathlete that comes in that wants to do Pilates, I look at them a little bit different, because they may need more flexibility, which Pilates provides. Strength first and then flexibility. Yep. So first we strengthen what's strong, and then we mobilize what we can mobilize based upon that strength that we have created. And so you will get a good workout. None of my clients can say, or students or anybody that I ever worked with, that they didn't get a good workout. You just have to find where the person fits in. Some people are better off to be on the reformer because they have the feedback of the springs. Other people are really great on the mat. But I want people to do everything, because I want them to not feel they're tied to a studio and only do Pilates at this place or at this program. Just, like you do Pilates with on Zoom, but they can say, okay, I can do Pilates at home. I do it when I do my weights. I do it when I do my strength training. I do it when I do my dancing. I'll do it when I cook. I do it when I'm gardening. And then I may take a class, or I take part of a class where I focus on the finer principles to work on that, to get the stronger core. And I'm not talking six-pack, Jenna. We're not talking six-pack. Stronger functional core, just like longer than your functional muscles.
And you mentioned posture many times, right? And it seems that Pilates can really help our posture as we age.
Not only as we age, you'd be surprised all the youngins that I get that have terrible posture, starting with children. Years ago, I was working with children primarily, and I moved on as I got older. But children have horrible posture. They're schlepping heavy books. Their backpacks are too heavy. They're sitting way too much on their chairs. They need Pilates. So everybody needs Pilates. And the posture, I think, is also part of a society that we've become. We have become a very sedentary bunch of people. And we're sitting, and COVID has taught us nothing better than sitting on even more on our chairs and desks. So posture is, I think of the posture as when you visualize a skeleton and it has the arms hanging and the legs just hanging, and then you have your head, and then from your head everything just lengthens to the floor. It releases tension in the neck and shoulder. And then we're reaching what I like to call our crown, up towards the sky. And in yoga, oftentimes we use the string. So similar idea that we're lengthening our neck to what I call the swan neck. So we have a swan neck, we have a long posture, and we're holding the least amount of tension. How many times do you see people not only hunched over, but when you see them walking, and they're walking leaning back, so their back starts hurting. So when you become aware of what good posture or what a healthy posture is, your eagle eye is everywhere, and you're going, oh, look at them. And one quick story on that. My daughter, when she was younger and still living with me at 18, she had a boyfriend, and her boyfriend started to have this hunch already at that age. And she literally hit him on the back, and she said, "If my mom would see, better stand up straight." That's a good one. And he did. That's so good. It was a fun.
Yeah, so for someone who's never tried Pilates before, is there an age limit or someone should start trying?
If you have a lot of medical issues, you definitely want to get the clearance of your doctor. If you have osteoporosis, if you have osteoporosis comes to mind. I also work with breast cancer survivors. So if you have that, you want to have somebody that knows what they're doing. I work a lot with people that have scoliosis. So if you have spinal conditions, you definitely don't want to just go in a class and say, "Oh, I'm just taking Pilates. This is great." It's probably not for you, especially when you have arthritis. You want to be really paying attention to what you're doing. If you have nothing to worry about physically, it does not matter how old you are, how heavy you are, how skinny you are, what you can or can't do. It does not matter, because we're not competing about somebody else around us. We're making you as the person better as a whole. So there's no limit. The only limit is our own mindset when we just don't know. Should we step over? Should we call that person? Should we actually go there? Oh, no, me, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. And you never know. It depends on the practitioner. It depends on their training. You also want to make sure you have somebody who's been trained well and didn't just fall off the apple tree. And especially if you have orthopedic conditions, you want to know that they know how to work with you and don't injure you. So that's a biggie. But there is no age limit. Like I said, my youngest client at one point was 8, and my oldest one, 93. My heaviest client I worked with in Pilates in those 20 years was 600 pounds, and he did Pilates. So if you're just whatever, how much you weigh, but look, 600 pounds on a 6-foot person is a lot of body mass. It can be done, but you got to find the right person. And if you just want to go and try it out, just go. Just be surprised. Go on an adventure. Take your girlfriend and all right, let's go do some Pilates instead of drinking one.
What advice would you give it to someone who is hesitant to give Pilates a try or other type of exercise a try because of fear or other issues?
Don't be afraid. Just do it. You never know if you might like it. You could go to a dance class and just love it, or you may hate it and never come back. But unless you get over your inner self and decide that you're worth trying something new, going on an adventure, I'm telling you, there's so many things that you can find out. And here's another little story. And this time it's involved my son. When my son was in his 20s, he said to me, "Hey, Mom, do you want to sign up for the Tough Mudder?" I'm like, cool name. Sure, I sign up. I had no idea what I was signing up for. And then I signed up, paid the money, and then he said, "Okay, Mom, you got to start training." And I'm like, what am I doing actually? So we had to climb walls, we had to jump off bridges, we had to do something with ropes. We had, I don't know what else they were. I mean, it was crazy. It was an obstacle course outside on on a ski slope, and there was partially snow still there. So it was my son, my husband, and myself, and we did the Tough Mudder, and I was like, "What did I get myself into this time?" Will I do it again? Was it a humbling experience?
But you still have
Yeah.
confidence in you that you can totally do it.
I was like, totally, mom can do this. Mom runs marathons and ultra marathons. She can do this. She's doing Pilates and wets. Yeah, mom.
That is awesome. That's a really nice story. So what does a session with you look like?
So when you come to me personally in person, because we have different levels. So if you come to me in person, I do, like I said, I take an evaluation. And the way I personally teach, I'm an intuitive teacher. I don't have a plan. I know what the curriculum is about Pilates. I know I have several pieces of equipment in my studio, but I don't know. I surprise myself because I look at the person and see where they're at that day. Sometimes people come anxious. Sometimes people come very stressed and upset for some reason. Others are not paying attention. They're somewhere else with their mind. Others are super committed and they want to crush it. So I have to pull those people back a little bit so they listen to their bodies more. So I go by what I see before me. And that changes with every time. And if I decide that today you are going to use the ball for Pilates, then you're going to use the ball for Pilates because I feel that this is what your body needs. And I have not been wrong in all those years. I may switch gear during the session where I go, this was great, but now I want to do something else. But it also always goes by my intuition and the body is before me. And that also, and you may not know that, Jenna, another cool story. I invented Pilates with resistable in the early 80s. So that's why I love, love, love Pilates on the ball. Now, when we go to the Pursue Your Spark people that come in through my online portal, they will get similar attention, not quite as much, but the programs are designed for you, the person who's coming to me, as if you were being my personal client. So I've designed them based on my age groups, on the abilities, the fun factor that I throw in stuff that's maybe a little different, sometimes also a little bit more pulling people back in the programs and going, hey, you know, let's chill out a little bit. We don't have to always push hard. And so it's very wonderful in that sense.
You answered my next question because wanted to ask, other than the in-person, during pandemic, do you actually have online? It seems that the Pursue Your Spark is a perfect online program, especially for women who are over 50.
Yep, absolutely. 50, 60 and beyond. I was like, I talk about women over 50 and like I said, I'm going to be 62 in April. And I was like, I have to talk to my group too, the women that are postmenopausal and that I want to stay fit, just like what I want to do. So it is, everything I do is I keep in mind it's the person that I'm working with, whether they're there online on a Zoom call or in a program that I do, or with me right here. And one of the things that one of my current clients, no, the story I know Jenna's going to say, Heike is so full of stories, cut me off, is one of my first clients that started with me Zoom training is my 86-year-old client who works with me twice a week. Now she's limited in what she can do because she can't stand up. So everything we do is seated. But she said, so you're telling me I can't come and see you anymore. I'm like, it's not happening. We COVID and all this. And she says, can you do Zoom? I'm like, sure. I said, should I teach you how to use Zoom? And she was, yeah, show me how to use Zoom. I'm like, okay, here's a little video. This is how you do Zoom. And then we got situation set up in her apartment. So she had somebody help her set up the computer and the right so I can see her. And we've been doing this for as long as the pandemic has been going on. And the biggest compliment to me is because some people say, oh, Zoom training is not the same. And everybody that's worked with me so far on Zoom, whether it is one-on-one or in a group, has seen me, has said, you know what? you really look at us. You really see us. It's not like other trainers that are on the phone or they're kind of distracted or they don't point out mistakes I'm making or precautions. It's like I'm there live in person with you. And this is the biggest compliment that
But I
I
also
can
this have to
envision.
do with your years of practicing and years of experience that you really know what you're doing compared to people who are just, following the typical like curriculum.
Yeah, I'm like, if I see what something doesn't work, I'm like, abort mission is one of my things. And people are like, oh, what? No, I'm like, no, we're not doing this. And they're like, okay. I think there's nothing wrong with you, but we want to change something now.
I know you
So,
also have a podcast. Tell us about that and what kind of topic do you typically discuss?
so I love my podcast. My podcast has been almost 4 years now that I have my podcast. Again, for the same age group, empty nester women over 50, and I'm focusing primarily on women, although some guys are trying to sneak in, especially on social media. And I'm like, no, this is only us girls. And my podcast, I teach what I know on the podcast, what I think is current that that my listeners have questions about at the moment that they might find interesting. And my guests vary from experts in the field, like you may find somebody that teaches osteoporosis on my podcast and talks about osteoporosis. We just had a guest that talked about sex and intimacy in midlife, and that was a fabulous episode. Then you also will find people that are maybe a little bit older, but they have taken their lives and changed their lives because of a really big decision they made. And the recent episode comes to mind that the woman that I interviewed is the oldest 70-year-old that climbed Yosemite. Um, El Capitan. So something along those lines that you have not just experts on the show, but that you have real life stories from somebody that said, at 60, I just didn't want to do this anymore. I'm doing this now. Or they just fell into this. And I just love everybody that has been on my show. And I'm looking at our notes here. And if I can say this, there was one of the people that's commenting. She's been on my show and was a fantastic guest. So a shout out to Condo
That
Land.
is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. Thank you so much for what you do. And then also sharing all this great information with us. And then we'll make sure that all the information on your website and everything is in the LinkedIn bio promoting this Instagram. So thank you so much for joining us.
Then it was a pleasure. And thank you for bearing with. No, I love you. I love her. Thanks everybody for being here with us. Ask questions. We're not done after this.
So if you haven't followed Heike, be sure you have to follow Heike and check out Pursue Your Spark and all the great tips. Yay. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yay.